Hey everyone, welcome back to Casual Watch Review channel. Well, this week I've got another really interesting interview for us, and we're going to be talking to Giovanni at UNIMATIC. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and nice to meet you all.
You kindly sent me over a press loaner of the new GMT watch that's using the Seiko movement, so definitely dive into that. But before we do that, would you mind just giving us a bit of background for people that aren't familiar with UNIMATIC?
The story is quite long because next year we are going to celebrate our let's say 10th anniversary from the very beginning of things. Everything started out between Simone, my business partner, and me. We were friends since the time of the university, so we were already adult back in the day. We were like 30 something, but we did met when we were 20 something, and we were both studying industrial design at Politecnico di Milano, and of course we had a fascination toward watches and timepieces, and we were collecting some pieces, mostly, affordable one, mainly Seiko and Junghans and stuff like that we could fetch from the eBay. And we were already back in the day looking at them under the, let's say, industrial design angle. So we never have been so much into the sophistication of mechanics or the execution and craftsmanship that goes behind a super nice movement or anything. But our angle was always focused more on the design and on the execution and the graphic and the balance between the elements that compose the watch. Then, of course, both me and Simone, we took some professional road. I was working mainly in furniture. Simone was more into, let's say, 3D and video animation and stuff like that. Till one day in 2015, when we decided to try out to synthesize all of the idea and all of the discussion we had about wristwatches into a physical product. That physical product was the Modello Uno. We did develop the design and the engineering side of it to be able to make it happen. And we finally decided to basically give it a try without a precise, business plan or anything to go with it. Basically, the thing was, okay, let's do a small batch so that we can wear the watch we always thought about, the watch we would like to have ourselves, and that is not out there in the market yet. And of course, let's hope that someone else also like our idea and also like the product that will embed all of these things, so that we can win back the money we are spending now, since, of course, we needed to do a certain quantity to be able to have it manufactured properly. Okay, we did 300 pieces for the reference U1A. Was a product that many people liked, and in particular one shop in Paris that was Colette, back in the day, by far the best concept store in the world, and a specialist watch store here in Milano that is Grimaldi, asked us to have a few to sell, and quite rapidly this ramped up our sales performance, meaning that shortly after having the possibility of showing the product to a broader audience than just, our friends and family, we ran out of the first 300 pieces. And at that point, of course, we wanted to keep going because already with the development of the design of the Modello U1A, we had many other ideas, and then we had to narrow it down to get to a single product. So we did the U1B, the U1BN, and the first collab watch that was the U1C with Colette again. Basically, they wanted to have some stock to be able to sell it because the ramp up of the sales of the previous model was surprising to everyone, including themselves. So we did 200, 100, 300, in basically another batch of 900 watches. This one sold out quickly as well. And then the story goes on. At some point, of course, you start looking like a small business. And the wheel, in a way, was spinning by itself, driven by a broader reach and a broader number of people that could appreciate our work. And still nowadays, very synthetically, is the same storytelling because more or less nothing has changed. We do work in a evolutive design kind of fashion and trying to improve every product from every possible point of view. So from the design standpoint and from the execution standpoint, release after release. Of course, in between, we have a number of programs that we call special edition or collaboration, or you name it, with some other brands or some individual or entities in which we try to use our 5 models family to hybridize the DNA of Unimatic and of the Unimatic product to the person who we are working with.
Your brand, more than any other brand, I think is defined by some very distinctive collaborations, and especially in the relatively short time, because you've got a watch that had NASA on the dial. You did the Italian Army paratroopers watch, and then you've done Mickey Mouse and SpongeBob, as well as a whole host of others in there. So you've covered quite the gamut from military to right through to popular characters. So how do you make those decisions? How did those collaborations come about?
That's a very good question, and the answer might be long for the format, but I'll try to sum it up. In the very beginning, collab was suggested in a way by Colette, the first one, the U1C. We can openly say that it was a matter of stock management so that they could have the certainty to have a certain number of product timely and to be able to serve the people that were inquiring about the Unimatic watches. And these, on one side, was, let's say, the practical scope for what they needed. And on the other end, of course, for the small unknown Unimatic, that back in the day was even smaller and more unknown, was also an exceptional possibility to receive some kind of seal of approval by that partner that was believing and in a way certifying and spending his word toward this new thing that was Unimatic. When we start working with Seb at Colette, the interesting bit it was to see what was the corner of a guy that was far more experienced than us in the business of selling watches, not just in the business of having idea on how to make a watch look cool or something that was more like our own specialty. And so the first one was very, very easy, and the process was also very straightforward because he said, show me some render or some drawing in which everything is black. And it looked so cool that still nowadays, when you will come to Milano, we have a small, let's say, archive/museum with all of the reference, and many people that walk in the door and maybe they don't know anything about watches, they don't know anything about us, but I ask, which one is your favorite? And they go for the all black. So that was a very simple experience, but we had the first taste of having someone that was focusing on our own product from his own point of view, and in the making of a special edition, that's a very valuable experience for us, because we are working to this. We were working to this since the very beginning of time. So we developed some kind of tunnel vision. So to get rid and to get some hybridization with the corner of someone else that we like is a very valuable experience that then can translate into in our own product line. Going forward, we did one with Luisa Via Roma, that back in the day was one of our most important retailers as well. And then we did one with Wow in Hong Kong. Then we did with Mr. Porter, with Nigel Caborn, with Miara Yasuhiro. So it was a very broad range of different people, different geographical region and culture that were in a way providing their point of view and their the facet about the product they were interested in. So every collab still nowadays, it's for us a very important moment in which we can look at things differently. Of course, we want to drive the car, and we want to do a product that first of all is a UNIMATIC product. But trying a little bit to stretch the boundary of our own vision, because other than that we would end up doing always the same stuff: black watch, and at the same time, of course, every program give us the possibility to speak to an audience that by ourselves most likely we are not able to hit. And for a small company, this, of course, it's the most important thing, to be able to create some word of mouth and possibly some happy customer that then will evangelize someone else about what we do. And hopefully we will be able to fetch their interest as well. So it's like a process that is ongoing almost from day zero, as you said before. And it's on the personal side very interesting, because through the watch, me and Simone and everyone that is working with us, it's able to connect to someone from the other side of the world that maybe has some great achievement in his field of expertise. And without the watch, most likely we couldn't have this conversation. We couldn't have this exchange of point of view that start from the watch, but of course it enlarged to much broader topics. An experience that is impossible to have in another way for the small UNIMATIC from Milano. There is no many other opportunity to be able to speak with one of the most genial Japanese high couture fashion designer, and through the watch we did it, and through the watch we became friends, and then we did another one, and possibly in a few months we will have something more happening. So that's the conversation starter, and in many cases also a friendship starter, and that's the most rewarding part of running this brand.
I was in New York last year, and we went to the Museum of Modern Art. And if anybody's not familiar, you've got the Museum of Modern Art, and then across the road, they've got it's not really a gift shop, it's a huge store, and it's all items that are curated that they've sourced from around the world that show off their aesthetic for design. And I think there's only 3 watch brands in there. Swatch, because it has they have the art swatches, then Junghans, which you mentioned, and then you guys are in there as well. You guys are in the Museum of Modern Art shop, which that must have been quite a proud moment coming from your industrial design background.
100%. Also, because of how it was born, because at some point out of the blue sky, we received an email from the buying team at the MoMA design store saying, okay, we have seen your watches, we like it, can we get some to sell in the shop? And of course, we were super happy and super proud to be able, even from the design store door, but to enter in such an institution like the MoMA. And shortly after that, there was another, let's say, little spike in our own pride, because the MoMA director of the curation of the design store asked us to do something special from them, and we did a 3-piece collaboration, very colorful and inspired by the color scheme of the MoMA Museum ticket. Some nice seal of approval that we receive from such an institution.
But this brings us to the new watch that we're talking about today. I think one of the interesting things, if you go back across your history, you don't stick to one movement manufacturer. You started off using Japanese, but then you started off using Seiko, but then you used Miyota also. You've used ETA, you used Sellita. But this new watch, the U1 GMT, is a more affordable GMT, because I think the last one you did was ETA, and it's using Seiko's new NH34A, which I think that, along with the Miyota 9075, has been a real revolution in mechanical GMT watches, because they're now affordable. So why did you pick the Seiko movement for this particular model?
Yeah, well, as you said before, we are not very committed to use exclusively this or that manufacturer or a kind of movement, because for the way we intend the product, we want and we try our best to pick the best movement for the task it needs to take care of. For many years was represented by the NH35. The decision in the first moment was brought by both practical reasons, meaning that we wanted to have a watch that was very reliable, that was affordable, that was tough enough to live a long life on the wrist of anyone. And on the other end, both Simone and me, we were Seiko boys, and we still are Seiko boys. Seiko is the brand that outside of Unimatic, of course, most likely we still love the most, and that was also the brand with which we started our small collector's life, let's say. And so we started using the NH35. We have a very nice opinion. And then at some point, we introduced some of the Sellita and ETA Swiss to be able to develop the design of the case with a slightly slimmer profile. That's the only thing I don't personally like on the NH35 is the thickness. And there are viable alternatives out there. Yes, of course, we picked the SV200, and then it was natural to go, one notch up and get to the SV300 or ETA 2093 for the GMT. The GMT was the Swiss GMT was very, very successful. Price point was, of course, a little bit higher than the usual price point on which we market our products. And back in the day, basically, there was no alternative unless going with some, weird kind of movements that we could have sourced. But since we wanted to provide the best bang for the bucks, I don't know how to say in English, but let's say we want to provide a watch that people it's confident in wearing, confident in his design, in his performance and everything. We have a threshold that we never go below, and quite the opposite. We try to bring the best value we can to to the collector and to the customer and to the friends that are helping us building up this brand. And so the price point was, let's say, the only downside of having the GMT from Sellita. And when our friend at TMI mentioned the possibility of getting a few NH34, we did some tests. We saw that the movement was as we were expecting. Very, very well performing. It's affordable enough to be able for us to provide the product at a very reasonable price. And so we did it. To be honest, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I have, of course, both. I have all of the UNIMATIC. I kept one each for myself. And I recently was in Hong Kong and I'm wearing the Seiko. I could wear the Sellita, but I just think that it's a perfect fit for the lineup that UNIMATIC is providing, and it has the value for money that we like to provide to the customer. It's not a very interesting answer, I know myself, but if it's working and it has a good price and you can fix it anywhere in the world and most likely also in 100 years, we have no prejudice and we are very happy to work with TMI.
I think it is interesting because I can't think of really any other brand that has a blend of movements that they use. They usually stick to, I mean, even in your tool watch line, you've got two different movements that you use there. You've got a Seiko movement and a Miyota on that GMT.
Yes,
as well.
It's interesting topic. When speaking with friends and colleagues in the business, we have a few competitors that are not true competitors but are still doing watches. And I get some criticism for this kind of politics that we have. And I can also understand their point of view. But I don't know, to me, till today, it was natural to pick the best ingredient for the recipe we were going to cook. And so it was just natural to pick the VH31, talking about the tool watches, because it's nice, it's affordable, it's very reliable, it's thin enough to be able to be fitted with our 360 protection system. We did already experimented the time only with the first Automobili Amos watch that we did back in the day. And so for the time only, we were already, all set with a movement on which we had very little to no complaint, even if we did a few hundreds. And we introduced on the side of it also the Ronda 515 24-hour, as you mentioned. Basically, just because we wanted to have a GMT version on a quartz powered watch, and to be able to fit these with the same 360 protection system inside the case to make it shock proof. And so, since we weren't able to, the TMI doesn't provide such kind of a movement, we went to Ronda. They are landmarking quartz watch production. And so we picked that. Of course, the only benchmark is some testing stage that we do and some benchmarking in between products. So if the performance of NH34 are on par with the Swiss alternative, we are happy to use both according to the design intent and to the project idea that is behind this or that watch. I think that in a way, it sounds like I'm trying to justify myself, and maybe I'm doing it, but it's natural for us because of the way Unimatic was born, and still the way Unimatic is running his own little business, is to think to each program individually more than okay, we have a catalog to fill with as many proposition we can have, so that the retailer will be happy. So we tend to start from a point that was the NH35, to keep it very simple. And then when we wanted to do something that was slimmer, we went with the Cellita. And when we wanted to do it shock-proof, we went with the VH. And who knows, maybe one day we will do the solar power Unimatic. I'm just saying, of course. And then we will need to pick among the citizen offering, Miotta or whatever. So we are open-minded. I don't know how to say in English, but I hope it can translate in a nice way.
If that solar one comes to fruition, I'll definitely put me down on the list for one of those. And did I read that you individually water test these to 300 meters?
Yes, we do test individually for accuracy and water tightness. Every watch that leave the premise. So not only the GMT we are talking now, but everything else that has Unimatic branding on it, it's tested individually. And this is a small investment. I mean, not that small, to be honest, investment that we did a few years ago. And in our assembly line, we have this nice Swiss-made machine that take care of every single piece. Then we do the package and we ship it, and this usually helps in bringing the return rate down to 0. That's the final outcome we are trying to achieve one day.
I don't know whether you think this is good or not, but there's a thriving sort of resale market, isn't there, on eBay and Chrono24 and some of the watches have. I mean, did that surprise you that some of the watches they've gone up maybe sometimes multiples of the price that were originally?
To be honest, I'm very happy when this happens, and it's especially when we do very small quantities. These happen quite often, and we are proud of these because it's something that is not that usual on this price range. And also we are happy that we are able to translate some value also in the hands of the collector and of the customer that are out there. You have to imagine that still today, but especially till a few years ago, we almost known our customer one by one. And so I'm happy that my friend Mark that invested a certain amount of money to get this and that. Tomorrow morning, if for any reason, and hopefully this will never happen, need to cash back something, maybe we'll also get a small profit, small or big, because we have some particular reference, such as the NASA one. We only did 50 watches, was one of the quickest sellout we ever had. They were gone like in 30 seconds or something. And this was a watch that you could have bought for 600, let's say, more or less. And if you are lucky enough to find one on the secondary market, maybe it's going to cost you 5 or 6 times the retail. And so, in a way, I wish I could have kept 49 for myself. But but it's good that someone else out there did a nice purchase, got himself a nice watch, and when he feel like changing it to something else, he can win his money back, and hopefully buying a couple of Unimatics.
Well, that's been fascinating. So, guys, head over to Unimatic website now to check out these 2 watches. Giovanni, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Guys, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Reviews. Thanks, guys. Bye.